Right, folks, we are on to item 13. Please, we don't need any debate about this. This was a resolution that is an incorrect resolution, so we have to go back to square one.
Happy to move.
Oh, thank you. Moved by Councillor Walker, seconded by
Me, second.
Councillor Cashmore. So what we've done there, you'll notice it hasn't gone back to the original resolution, which was the Chair of the Finance and Deputy Chair of the Finance, as we've made it that it will come back to the Finance Performance Committee. So everyone will have a say on the next value for money reviews. So I'm going to put those A and B, A with B and B. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Thank you. Excellent. And then we're going to 14. And who is coming up here? Nobody? Information only. I'll move that. Second by Councillor Simpson. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Very good. Okay, the consideration of the extraordinary item. So,
Move into confidential.
no, we're
Extraordinary
just going to do
items
the
first.
extraordinary item, just give the pictures. Rod, do you want to come up and Ms. Dean want to go to the front as well? Councillors,
Sorry, how was it an extraordinary item under standing orders?
I just allowed the photos to go up. There's going to be no resolutions from her or anything like that. And Rod and Dean are going to just reassure everyone the process that's going on with the local boards at present, and that when a report will be coming back to Councillor Hols's committee. So let's not make a meal of this, guys. Councillor Quacks.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I just, coincidentally, I've just had 5 more photos sent through to me from one of our local residents. The photos don't look much different from the photos that I've asked the officers to put up here. This is one of our most, well, so if you could just back up. This is one of our most popular recreation reserves used for picnicking, for kids to play, which is adjacent to the Pakuranga Sailing Club and adjacent to, and it backs onto a small beach, which very popular with, it's been like very popular with families and children, very popular with walkers through this area. This reserve has been like this now for months, and it's just getting worse and worse. If you look at, this is one of the low-lying ones, so some of the stories about the fact that it's been very wet this winter is partially accepted, but there are other reserves which are on high places, and I've got another photo of another reserve. This one here, which is adjacent to a children's playground, which is on a high area. I've been there on a couple of occasions. It's no problem with, it's not wet at all, but the park has just got to the stage now where once we do mow it, it's still going to be in a terrible state. And that grass there is somewhere between 18 inches and 24 inches long. And it's, and a lot of the parks in our area are of a similar standard. Now, I understand that this is not the job of the head contractor. I understand the head contractor has contracted this out to a subcontractor, and that subcontractor is responsible for the management of that. The head contractor is responsible for the submanagement, subcontractor, and the management of that subcontractor. So in some ways, while the council they're still responsible to the council officers, we have removed it one step from any control of our officers. There are examples all over the Howick ward of parks such as this and worse than this. But it's not only confined to the Howick ward. It is confined to the North Shore, it's also on the North Shore, it is on other wards as well, where the head contractor is Ventia, who we're paying $266 million over a 5-year period. And if anybody can tell me that this is good value for money for our ratepayers, I think they'd have a bit of an argument with anybody around this table. This is not good enough. The golf courses, the schools, and other private property in our ward has been well maintained. If the standard of golf courses was like this, there'd be a walkout of members. If the schools were like this, the parents of the children going to these schools would ask what was going on. They'd tell the board to get on with fixing the school grounds. Why are we not doing the same thing?
Where is that, Dick?
Are there any more photos, councillor Crack?
Well, I've got dozens of photos,
got-
Mr.
yeah. Should we just flick
Mr.
through the
Chairman.
photos?
This is another one.
Yep.
Can you tell us where they are, though, as you go? Just tell us where they are as you go.
Okay, this is all in the Howard Wood. These are within walking distance of my house.
From here to you.
A lot of it's some of it's on the Rotary Walkway. This is on a reserve which is opposite to my house. You can see how high the grass is when you compare it to the picnic table that's there. Who wants to go on a picnic table when you got to go through tiger country to get there? You know, you don't know what might be lurking.
Okay,
You
right.
have no idea what might be lurking.
Would be a good place for elephants.
Through the chair, through the
And
chair.
Madam, and Mr. Chair, we do have an obligation, we all have that collective obligation under the Health and Safety Act to make sure that we bring matters of health and safety to the attention.
Yep.
And that's that, and we also have an obligation under the Health Act 1956 that this council has an obligation under that. So while I agree that this is a local board matter, my local board members and they're writing to both me and the council steward saying they have tried to get something done and they haven't had any success whatsoever. And I think other councillors may have had similar reaction from their board members.
Right, so we have
Thank you, Councillor Fitzgerald.
councillor Stewart, who's been very kindly put up a hand and showed good manners.
Yes, I'd just like to support everything that Councillor Quacks has said, but some of those photos are actually, I've got photos that I can't actually, you can't see on the screen at the moment, that are far worse than that. In fact, just about all of Howick and Pakuranga and Botany's, the parks have been what I would call botched. They look absolutely terrible. It would have been far better to have just let the grass be long. The other thing that we're having, because of the long grass, we're having a lot of problems with mice. There's people are contacting us daily on the mice infiltration. Really, something really does have to happen, and it really needs to be looked at. And I hope, as I'm speaking, that we've got people going out there and having a look at what's happening. But just one other thing: 7:45 a.m. over in the North Shore, the contractors on Sunday morning were out there trying to mow the lawns, and that was actually a day of rest, and it was a long weekend, and so they're trying to catch up. But what they've done, because they've allowed the grass to grow so long, and it's not just the wet weather, it's, the whole thing is just an absolute mess. And if we're going to have grass, and we're going to allow grass to grow really long and then cut it, it's going to be like this. It doesn't matter whether it's wet weather or dry weather or whatever. We have got a situation here, and we really do have to look at the policy, and we really need to do something. But I've even got emails here and on Facebook messages where apparently some of the contractors have been seen sitting in their van, sometimes on a wet day, for 2 or 3 hours and not moving on. And then when they've been asked the question, they've been told, well, we don't want to go back to the depot or we won't get paid. So I think we do have to look at something. This is the Finance and Performance Committee. We do need to address this. It's a serious problem all over the region.
So I'll take councillor Filipaina, and then we'll just get Rod and Dean to...
Thank you, Chair, and I think the last part of Councillor Stewart's comments were the relevant one, which is happening possibly across the region. Other councillors around this table actually get hold of the team if there's any issues. So, I mean, I basically look forward to, and it's good, Councillor Quacks, that you show the photos, because I look forward to the report that's coming back to us in regards to the regional context, albeit that the photos are with Howick. So I just look forward to one, the ongoing support that myself and some of the that have with the team. But again, it may be something that we need to look at from a ward basis if there's any issues, and a direct contact as to where we end up putting all these issues that across the region that we have. You know, because it may not be as bad as what it is in other areas. So again, Chair, I just look forward to getting that report, and I invite all the people around this table to contact Rod, you and the team in regards to any issues, because if you don't know about it, you can't do anything. So, yeah, I just look forward to the report, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor Stewart, I'll let you
Okay,
add.
I'd just like to follow up on that. Councillor Quacks and I, probably for the last couple of weeks, have had our council support staff looking into this and asking those appropriate questions. So we've actually been letting our council support staff, because we've been told we have to go through call centre and we have to have things done appropriately, and that's what we've been doing. So it would have been noted that we have been trying for a number of weeks to try and get this addressed, and it even goes further back. It goes back to when we had the problem at Rogers Park, where we actually had one of the contractors that apparently attacked somebody, and so there are a lot of concerns and a lot of problems out there. It may actually be, as Councillor Filipina has said, that it might be just in our particular ward, I don't know, but we have been told that it's happening in Rodney, we've been told it's happening in North Shore, we have been told it is happening all over, so it really does need to get looked at, because as Councillor Quack said, it's a very big contract, $266 million, it's a lot of money.
Yep. I know Councillor Hills, you have to wait. Dean?
Look, thanks for the photos. We don't accept what we're seeing there. It's not just happening in Howick or Pakuranga, it's happening in other places throughout the city, so we don't accept that. That is not our expectation. We have been in discussion with the contractors. Yes, there is transition, but and yes, there has been wet weather. There are other things that sort of influence outcomes, but that's not what we expect. Okay, so we don't accept it. So that should be nice and clear for you. We have been working with the local boards. Myself and Kim, who's not here, met with them last Monday at the local board chairs forum. We heard their feedback around Project 17, which is the maintenance, around the renewals, around local discretionary investment opportunities they have, and the progress that is or isn't being made. So we've got a first-hand view of their concerns by local board across the city, and we're working with them on all of those. And that's where our primary relationship lies with respect to that. But we recognise at a citywide level this is a reputational issue. So I accept it at both levels, you know, I'm nice and clear on that. So be assured that along with Rod and the committee facilities team, we're working very, very hard on this issue. But we need a bit of time to get on top of it and sort it out and prioritise where that focus and where that attention is required. So what I thought would be useful is if Rod can summarise for you the specific actions that we are taking. Suffice to say that I know as frustrating as it is, can you please continue to put your requests through the proper channel? That way, you can do it two ways if you wish, but that way we have a record of where those concerns lie, and we can track progress, because that's one of our KPIs. Okay, track progress and track where we have repeated issues. So keep doing that, Councillor Stewart and Councillor Quacks and others. And on that note, I'm going to hand over to Rod to give us a summary of where we're at and the things that we're doing with our contractors to improve the level of service and performance.
Okay. Thanks. Dean, and through the chair. Look, firstly, we apologise. This has come up on us as quick as anything. You know, we mobilised. There's a whole lot of root causes that actually got us to this situation, and while it is a regional-wide problem, it is potentially a little worse in Howick than anywhere else. So, Councillor Quacks, and look, we do apologise and understand. We actually had the contractor go out and meet with the local board last week and actually sign off on a plan that they were actually happy with and front the local board on this issue. But what we are doing, we are meeting with the contractor. Also, Councillor Quacks, the main contractor is Ventia. They have relationships with other contractors and they are managing that contract. It is their responsibility to manage the contract, and while everyone has a relationship with some subcontractor, they are. So I just want to put that, the contract management stops and starts with them. So we don't meet the contractor, we meet with Ventia, who are the contractor, who have got people from Australia here, who have got people from everyone here that we're meeting with this afternoon to get a solid plan on a park by park basis. We've also committed to local boards. We are going to give them a weekly update of every park and what the schedules are. And when a park is not going to meet its schedule, we're going to report back to the contractor and obviously work with them or bring in other contractors to make sure that work is done. As I said in my memo the other day, you know, there's been a number of things that have got us to this state. Transition, the grass got away. You know, we had by September, we had our full year's rainfall. We had the reddest July, August when they started on record, and when they actually got onto it, and I do take your point that some parks could be mown and some couldn't be mown, and that's what we're holding them to account on. We are not taking the weather situation or the mobilisation issue as a soft stop. We are actually managing them to the contract, and they're actually being written to, and we are managing the contract as per it's been written. As I always said to you, that it's actually it's got penalties in there, and we will be abiding to the penalties, and it's got exit clauses if we need to exit out of this. So we are taking it serious. We've worked all weekend. We've worked. The team has actually worked over a plan, but as Dean said, it actually needs breathing time, because when they get onto a park, by the time you get back the next week, the specifications are the specifications. The specifications will meet community outcome, and the benefits of it are still there. This is an isolated, it's one of the service standards that we are struggling with at the moment, but we are committed to get it right, and we will continue to get it right and get the parks back into specification. And any costs related to damage, having to re-sow a park because of the grass, or whatever they do, we will be ensuring that the contractors pay for those causes. So please be assured, I had a whole weekend of it. I had a week before. I came back from 2 weeks annual leave to find that it had got away on us, and we are working 12, 13 hours a day to keep on top of this, and working with the contractors and summoning senior management from contracting companies to come and visit us and actually go give us a plan that will get us back into where we need to be.
Councillors, I have four that want to ask questions or make comments. I don't think we're going to get much more from Dean or Rod, so just bear that in mind. So I have Councillor Hills, Simpson, Watson and Fletcher, but I don't think you're going to get much more from Dean, Rod and the team. So Councillor Hills.
Thank you, and you know my concerns. I'm glad to hear that from the local boards, that you're updating the local boards, but I think it needs to be, as soon as you get any information, even if it's just the same, it needs to be going out, every day, if not every 2 days, just to allay the fears, because everyone's getting a whole lot of different emails, messages, and it's just easy for local boards just to send it off. And I do want to thank you for the last 2 weeks of, I've been going back and forth with a lot of you and been getting the information, but also the parks that I've been pointing out have been last week mown. A lot of them around the shore have been, and look back to almost, a standard we'd expect. And I think a lot of people do understand that, we've got issues on almost every department around the weather. Even the zoo is down millions of dollars because of the weekends and weekends of weather. So we understand it, but I guess coinciding with the contracts and the level of upset community around losing a community provider to another provider has exacerbated that. So, even if it's some of the worst parks, if you could be putting up signs, like just something that tells people as they're going past, this is this is the reason, or, you know, the damage caused by mowing this would cause this, you know, just so then when people go past, they just understand what's going on, because not everyone is connected through us or through local board members. They just drive past and think someone's forgotten about the thing. So it's just like when you have the sports fields closed, it just says, this is, you cannot use this or cannot mow this or whatever. So, but I've felt the communication the last 2 weeks has been pretty good, so thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Mr Chair. Look, I support Councillor Quacks. I think the sad thing for the first quarter of Project 17 is it was supposed to be outcome focused. So the grass wasn't supposed to be long, you know. It wasn't supposed to be mowed every whatever weeks. It was supposed to be mowed because it was getting too long. And what we have, I mean, ORAC board's the same, is parks that people are now saying Auckland Council has failed to deliver its maintenance of parks because they look so bad. And then, of course, when they are so long and they're mowed, then you get all this dead grass, etc. So I commend you on the weekly update to local boards. I am suggesting we do some really good comms around this because, you know, Auckland is concerned. And the other thing is I just want some clarification around the penalties because I heard you sort of gloss over them. But so you're saying that if there is damage to any parks or there is killed grass as a result of the mow, that there are some penalties. So maybe just some further information around those penalties, just to give maybe as part of the comm strategy as well, is just to give the public some reassurance that you know, the parks will be brought back to what they used to look like, really.
So through the Chair, there is in the contracts withholding of payment for failure of KPIs, which could be up to 10% of the monthly invoice. There was also in there remunerative shall work for damage caused. So those are the parts and the clauses that are there. Okay.
Councillor Watson.
Thank you. Just a very simple question and just seeking assurance that all the parks that have those big deep ruts are going to be restored, because I'm not so worried about the long grass, but there's any number of parks that people will twist their ankle on if, you know, as it hardens up. So that's the only reassurance I'm seeking.
Yes, through the Chair, all the remedial work we've done, and that's been damage caused when we've actually gone out to try and mow them and they've been too wet, and then so the machinery's sunk. Yeah.
It should have just left them.
Yeah. But then we end up in the situation we are when you leave every park and you've got 2,000 and they all want to be mowing in the same day. It becomes pretty tough.
Right, wrapping it up, Councillor Fletcher.
Rob, I realise this, you know, this is an important time for you. Do you feel that you have sufficient resources to monitor the performance within your department? We know what the contractual situation is, we know what the penalties, we know some of the issues around the penalties, but your role is really to provide that monitoring, and I want to have the assurance you've got people, finances, whatever is required to be able to deliver on that.
So through the Chair, and thank you for the question, a very good question. Dean and I have worked through that and we believe that we've now got the facility, the right structure in place to manage going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Okay, guys, all right. Mate.
I mean, just a very quick comment, and that is, we know that with climate change, we're going to get big dumps of rain over shorter periods of time. That's happening everywhere on the planet. So I just put to you, in terms of management going forward, we're going to have more dry spells in some instances, we're going to have more wet spells, we're going to have more concentrations. This is the new normal, and we need to be up with that. So that's the only comment I wanted to make.
And it's actually, thank you, through the Chair, it's a good comment, because we need to be looking at different ways of innovation, how we're going to deal with these things in the future. So I will, just through the Chair, there will be a workshop held with our team and contractors on root cause and what all the failings have been to actually get into the situation. And that's a very good point from Councillor Walker around some of these issues that we're going to face going forward as well.
You can blame it on climate change.
Not blame it on anything. It's a whole lot of issues.
Councillor Lee, to wrap it
Blame
up
the government.
this time.
I'll be brief, Mr Chairman. The officers are quite right to observe that the problem is general. It's not just in Howick. In fact, it's right close to where we are now. And part of the problem, I have to say I've virtually given up complaining, but part of the problem is who do you complain to? Quite often, who is responsible is not really clear. St Patrick's Square is a disgrace, right in the heart of the city, broken seating, patchy grass, a fountain which broke down some time ago and is really full of stagnant water. You can go out to the apex of the town hall here. Again, it's probably not your department. In fact, I don't think it is. And that's part of the problem. At the apex of the town hall, right in front of this building, there are weeds, there's mould and mildew on the limestone. The ground is filthy. Overhead flaps a filthy, ragged flag that somebody has felt okay to fly from the town hall. The general standard is not good enough, and it seems to me it raises serious questions about the whole outsourcing approach, rather than having people directly accountable inside the council. But anyway, some commitments have been made here today, and I'm quite happy to see, to allow time to enable those commitments to be met. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, councillor Quacks, for bringing this to our attention more than
So,
anything. You will
Mr
have the
Chairman,
final
how are we
say.
going to go forward from this?
You've got the final say.
Yeah, I just want to know how we're going to go forward on this, because I know, you know, there's no resolutions that can be made at the end of
Just
an
a brief
extraordinary
wrap
one.
up then.
So I just want
Dean,
to be reassured that
Yep.
at some stage soon, that we'll get a report from Rod and his team and tell us the way forward. You know, I've been very pleased with the comments that have been made today. I don't think anyone's happy with what's occurred, but and I think, you know, we can have a report to that
So
extent.
we're going through the local board level first, so it's a matter, it'll either be the November committee or the final committee meeting of the year, December, and reporting back to councillor Hols's committee. So could you just...
So we've committed to giving the local boards weekly updates.
Yep.
We've committed to attending and fronting up to the local board chairs forum at least next month in November, and we're happy to keep on doing that month after month until we feel we're on top of this. If you have specific issues that you identify, send them through the call centre, but in this instance also feel free to send them through to Rod and the team, which you've been doing anyway. That way we get it into the system so we can track progress, but also we're alerted to it straight away. And in terms of reporting back to you as a council on progress, or as councillors, we'll take up the offer to report back, and I'd like to suggest the December Environment and Community Committee. That just gives us enough time to get through the local boards the next 6 weeks effectively and give you an update at that committee on progress against the contract and outcomes.
Right, thank you. Thank you very much for turning up. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Right, I'm now going to put the procedural motion to exclude the public. It's in front of you. I'm going to move it, seconded by councillor Simpson. All those in favour?
Aye.
Right, thank you. So members...